Before we dive in, drop a quick hi in the comments. It may seem small, but trust me, it really helps YouTube share this story with more sci-fi fans like us. I'd love to see who's watching.
The first shot hit the grain silo. Jonah Rask was mid-sentence, pointing at the perimeter fence, explaining to Administrator Vell that a single guard tower wouldn't cover the eastern approach when the sky tore open and fire rained down. The silo exploded. Grain and metal sprayed across the colony square. Colonists scattered. Children screamed. A woman carrying a toddler tripped and fell. The child wailed. Nobody stopped to help her. "Contact," Rask said. 12 years since Anchorage, and the words still came out the same way. Lex Carver already had his sidearm up. "What the hell is that?" 3 ships, bone white, descending fast through the smoke. They didn't look like any military craft Rask had seen. Too smooth, too organic, like something grown, not built. No visible weapons, no markings. Just that pale, chitinous hull, catching the light of the burning silo. "Dima, comms." "Trying." Dima had his portable unit out, fingers moving. "Nothing. They're jamming everything. Wide spectrum. Military grade." The first ship touched down near the water treatment plant. Dust billowed outward. A ramp dropped before the landing struts had settled. Figures poured out. Tall, segmented. 6 limbs moving in unison. Chitinous plates caught the light. They carried long instruments that hummed with charge. No shouting. No commands. They moved like a machine. Like a harvest crew entering a field. Rask had never seen the species before. Didn't matter. He knew what they were doing. "They're herding," he said. "They're not here to kill. They're here to collect." A colonist ran past them. Young man. Farmer by the look of his clothes. One of the creatures cut him off. The instrument flashed. The man dropped, twitching. 2 more creatures grabbed his arms and dragged him toward the ship. Aaron Bishop grabbed Administrator Vell, who stood frozen, staring at the burning silo. His mouth moved, but no sound came out. Shock. Useless. Is there a shelter? Underground? The storage basement. Under the mess hall. Get your people there, now. Move. Vell ran. Some colonists followed. Others just stood in the open, too shocked to move. A child stood alone in the square, crying. An old man sat on a bench, watching the ships like he was watching weather roll in. Rask made a decision. "Carver, KG, cover the square. Buy them time. Get as many to shelter as you can." "And you?" Carver asked. "Bishop, Dima, with me. We push to the comms tower. Comms are jammed," Dima said. "Then we unjam them, or we find out who's doing this. Either way, we need that tower." They moved. Rask led. The colony was small. 40 structures. Agricultural units, housing pods, a med station, a single comms tower on the North Ridge, maybe 300 meters out. Tallest structure in the settlement. If they could reach it, they could see the whole battlefield. Maybe find a gap in the jamming. Maybe call for help. They made it 50 meters. The Thelok came around the housing block in a line. 4 of them. They moved wrong. Too many legs. Too fluid. Their heads swiveled without their bodies turning. Compound eyes reflected the firelight. No pupils. No expression. Just black, glossy surfaces that saw everything. Rask fired. 2 rounds center mass. The round sparked off a chest plate. Didn't penetrate. The creature didn't slow. A second Thelok raised its instrument. Aimed at Dima. The lance of light connected with his shoulder before he could move. He dropped instantly, convulsing on the ground. His back arched. His teeth clenched. He couldn't scream. Every muscle had locked at once. "Nerve weapon," Bishop said. He fired twice, aimed lower. One shot found a joint where the chest plate met the abdomen. Black ichor sprayed. The Thelok stumbled. Made a sound, high-pitched, almost mechanical. The other 3 closed the distance fast. Rask tried to fall back, find cover. But they were too quick. One of them flanked left, another right. He felt the impact before he saw it. His legs went out. His arms locked. Every muscle in his body contracted at once. He hit the ground face first, tasted dirt and blood, tried to move. Nothing responded. His eyes still worked. That was all. The last thing he saw was a Thelak standing over him. Its mandibles clicked, slow, rhythmic. Its antennae twitched, sweeping across his body like fingers reading braille, assessing, measuring. It made a sound. The translator on its chest rendered it in a flat, mechanical voice. Acceptable condition, minimal damage, tag for processing. Another Thelak approached, placed a cold metal band around his neck. He felt it. Click shut. Then nothing. Rask woke to the hum of engines. Low. Constant. Vibrating through the metal floor and into his bones. The sound of a ship in transit. He knew it before he opened his eyes. He'd spent enough time on military transports to recognize the frequency. The subtle shifts that meant course corrections. The deeper thrum that meant they were moving fast. The floor was metal. Cold. The air smelled like chemical disinfectant and something else. Something animal. Fear. Waste. Bodies packed too close for too long. A smell that soaked into the walls. Old. Permanent. He sat up slowly. His head throbbed. His muscles ached like he'd been beaten with pipes. The after effect of the nerve weapon. Every fiber had contracted at maximum force. His body had fought itself. A cell, 3 meters by 3 meters. Metal walls, smooth, no seams. A dim light strip overhead, recessed into the ceiling. A drain in the floor. No bed. No toilet. Just the drain. Bars on one side. Thick, dark metal with a faint sheen. Beyond them, a corridor. Wide enough for 2 of the creatures to pass side by side. More cells across the way. His team was with him. Dima Velas sat against the far wall, massaging his shoulder where the nerve lance had hit. His face was pale, his jaw tight. The hit had been worse for him. Longer exposure. Carver paced like a caged animal. 3 steps one way, 3 steps back. His hands kept clenching and unclenching, looking for a weapon that wasn't there. Tom Cagey knelt beside Bishop, checking a gash on his forehead. The medic's movements were precise. He'd torn a strip from his own sleeve to make a bandage. "Captain's awake," Carver said. He didn't stop pacing. "How long?" Rask's voice came out rough. Dry. His throat burned. "No way to know," Dima said. "I woke up maybe an hour ago. You were the last. They must have hit you with a higher dose." Rask got to his feet, steadied himself against the wall. The world tilted for a moment, then settled. He assessed the situation. No weapons, no armor. They'd been stripped down to base layers. Thin fabric, gray, uniform, nothing useful. No belts, no buttons. Nothing that could be fashioned into a tool or a weapon. He touched his neck, found metal, a collar, snug against his throat. He felt along its surface. Smooth, seamless, no visible latch, no release mechanism. "Shock collar," Cagey said without looking up. "We've all got them. A compliance measure. Haven't tested the range yet." "Don't," Rask said. He moved to the bars, gripped them. Cold, solid, no give. He looked out. The corridor stretched in both directions. Low ceiling, same dim lighting, dozens of cells. He counted at least 20 on this side alone, hundreds of figures inside them. Different shapes, different sizes. Some humanoid, some not. Fur, scales, bare skin in colors that didn't exist on Earth. Most sat in silence, staring at nothing. Some rocked back and forth. Some lay flat on the floor, motionless. He couldn't tell if they were alive. In the cell directly across, a massive creature slumped against the wall. Bovine features, thick skull, limbs like tree trunks. It could have torn through the bars with its bare hands. Probably had once. Now it sat motionless, eyes empty, mouth slack. Whatever had been inside it was gone. Broken out. Or broken down. "How many species?" Rask asked. "I count at least 6. Bishop said. He'd moved to stand beside Rask, observing, always observing. None of them are talking. None of them are planning. They've given up. How long have they been here? Unknown. But look at their condition. Muscle atrophy. Poor hygiene. Some of those wounds are infected and untreated. Weeks. Maybe longer. Footsteps. Heavy. Clicking against metal. A Thelak guard moved down the corridor. Bigger than the ones at the colony. Taller. Its chitinous plates were darker. Scarred. It carried a shock prod in one limb and a device that glowed faintly in another. Some kind of scanner. It paused at each cell, pointed the device, checked readings, made clicking sounds, moved on. When it passed the humans, it didn't even glance inside, just checked its device and kept walking. The readings were all it needed. The cargo was alive. The cargo was stable. Nothing else mattered. We're inventory, Dima said quietly. They don't even see us as threats. Like we're nothing, Carver growled. Like we're meat. Rask watched the guard disappear around a corner, counted the seconds until the footsteps faded. 23. Let's keep it that way. The next hours were spent in silence and observation. Bishop positioned himself near the bars, sat cross-legged, watched, listened. The guards rotated on a pattern. Every 30 minutes, one passed through the hold. Different guards, but the same route, same pace, same disinterest. Shift change happens somewhere else, he said. We only see them in transit. That means there's a checkpoint. Probably at the end of the corridor, left side. Maybe a monitoring station. How do you know it's the left side? The guards coming from the right walk slower, relaxed, starting their rounds. The ones going left walk faster, end of shift, heading somewhere specific. Rask nodded. Good. Dima studied the cell lock, crawled on his hands and knees, put his face close to the mechanism where the bars met the wall. A magnetic seal. Simple, reliable. No keyhole, no combination. Just a powerful electromagnetic field that kept the bars locked in place. I can beat it, he said, but I need a power source, something to short the magnetic field, a feedback pulse. Even a small charge would do it. Overload the seal for half a second, and the bars release. The shock prods, Carver said, would work. More than enough juice, if we had one. So we take one. And then what? Fight our way through a ship we've never seen with weapons we don't have against a crew we can't count? Better than sitting here waiting to get carved up. Is it? Because right now they think we're compliant. They think we're like the others. If we move too early, we lose that. And if we wait too long, we're dead anyway. Rask cut in. Nobody moves until we know more. Layout, numbers, patterns. We get one chance at this. One. We waste it, and they put us down like animals. Or worse. Carver's jaw tightened. The muscle in his cheek twitched. For a moment, Rask thought he'd argue. Push back. That was Carver, always pushing. But he didn't. He looked away. Nodded once. And how long do we have for that, Captain? A sound answered him. A chime through the ship's speaker system. Soft. Almost pleasant. Then a voice. Translated. Flat. Without inflection. Attention, cargo. Destination. Keth Auctions. Arrival in 14 cycles. Processing will begin in 2 cycles. Comply and survive. Resist and be rendered for biological salvage. This message will repeat. The words hung in the air. The other prisoners didn't react. No flinching, no crying, nothing. They'd heard it before. They knew what it meant. They'd accepted it. Keiji spoke quietly. Processing. That's medical examination. Assessment of value. They check physical condition, genetic markers, neural patterns. The ones deemed fit for labor go to work camps. The ones with unique biology go to breeding programs. The ones suitable for combat go to the gladiator circuits. And the rest? Carver asked. Rendered. Broken down for biological salvage. Organs harvested. Genetic material extracted. Biomass recycled into protein paste for the survivors. He paused. Nothing wasted. Silence. How do you know that? Carver asked. His voice had lost some of its edge. I've read the reports. Back home. Fringe species disappearing from colonies in the outer systems. Bodies found in transit zones, hollowed out. Intelligence always suspected a slave trade. Large scale, organized. But nobody wanted to confirm it. Bad for interstellar relations. Bad for trade agreements. Bad for the people who profit from looking the other way. The Galactic Council, Bishop said. This sector is supposed to be under their protection. Outpost Caldera was registered. Certified. We saw the documentation. Protected. Daima laughed. It wasn't a pleasant sound. We're in a cage on a slave ship. Council protection is a line on a treaty that nobody enforces. A filing number. A flag in a database. It means nothing out here. Rask looked at his team, then at the other cells. The broken creatures who'd stopped fighting long before the humans arrived. They had given up because no one had come. No rescue. No response. The Council had abandoned them. But the humans weren't waiting for rescue. They don't know what we are, Rask said. They think we're like the others. Passive. Compliant. New stock for the auction block. Aren't we? Carver asked. Not challenging. Just tired. Honest. Rask met his eyes. Held them. No, we're not. He turned to Bishop. Keep watching. I want guard patterns confirmed. Timing. Routes. Any variation. Bishop nodded. Already on it. To Dima. That lock. Walk me through it again. What exactly do you need? Minimum? A power cell. The kind they use in those shock prods. Compact. High discharge. Or anything with a comparable charge. A medical instrument. A lighting unit. Anything I can crack open and rewire. What about the collars? Dima's hand went to his neck. These? No. Too integrated. The power source is distributed through the whole band. I'd have to cut it off. And if I do that wrong, it triggers. Probably. Best case, it just shocks me. Worst case, it takes my head off. I'd rather not test it. To Keiji, injuries? Real assessment. Keiji finished checking Bishop's bandage and turned to face Rask. Bruises, minor contusions. Dima's got some residual nerve damage from the lance, but it's fading. We're functional. 72 hours. We'll be back to full capacity. We don't have 72 hours. Then we work with what we have. To Carver, you'll get your fight, but on my signal, not before, understood? Carver held his gaze. The tension in his shoulders didn't ease. The anger in his eyes didn't fade, but he nodded. Understood. Rask looked at the ceiling. Bare metal. Rivets. Somewhere above them, the Thelak crew went about their business, counting their cargo, calculating profits, planning the auction. They had no idea what they'd taken. 12 years ago, Rask had led a unit through the siege of Anchorage. 8 months of urban warfare, house to house, block to block. He'd started with 40 soldiers. Good soldiers. Friends. He'd walked out with 6. The siege had taught him things that couldn't be taught in training. How to move through a building without making sound. How to kill quietly. How to read a room in the time it took to blink. How to turn defeat into delay, and delay into opportunity. But more than that, it had taught him what humans were capable of when everything else was stripped away. Humans don't break easy, and when they do break, they break outward. 2 cycles until processing, he said. We move in 1. 1 cycle. Rask counted the guard rotations. 12 passes, 30 minutes each. 6 hours of watching, waiting, learning. The pattern held. Single guard, same route, same disinterest. The Thelak didn't vary their routine because they'd never needed to. Cargo didn't fight back. Cargo sat in cells and waited to be sold. That was the natural order of things. The natural order was about to change. Next one, Bishop said. He sat near the bars, eyes closed, listening. He'd learned to identify individual guards by their footsteps, the weight, the rhythm, the slight variations in how their limbs struck the metal floor. Heavy walker, the one with the scarred plate on its left shoulder. Time? Rask asked. 4 minutes. Maybe 5. Rask looked at his team. Dima crouched near the lock mechanism, ready to move the moment they had a power source. Carver stood against the wall, muscles coiled, barely containing the energy that had been building for 6 hours. KG sat in the center of the cell, breathing slowly, preparing himself for what came next. "Everyone knows your role," Rask said. It wasn't a question. Nods. No words needed. "KG, you're up." The medic moved to the front of the cell, lay down on the floor near the bars, positioned himself so he'd be visible from the corridor. He closed his eyes, regulated his breathing. Then he started to convulse. It was convincing. Too convincing. His body jerked and spasmed. His eyes rolled back. Foam gathered at the corners of his mouth. He'd been chewing on the inside of his cheek for the past hour, building up saliva, mixing it with blood. The effect was visceral. A man dying in front of you. The other prisoners in nearby cells stirred. Some looked. Most didn't. They'd seen death before. One more body meant nothing. Footsteps. Clicking against metal. Getting closer. The guard appeared at the end of the corridor. Scarred plate on its left shoulder, just like Bishop said. It carried a shock prod in its primary limb. Scanner in the secondary. It walked its route. Checked readings. Moved on. Then it reached the human cell. It stopped. The scanner hummed. Pointed at KG's convulsing form. The readings must have been wrong. Elevated heart rate. Irregular neural activity. Signs of distress. The Thelok made a clicking sound. Annoyance. It leaned closer to the bars. Its antennae twitched, sampling the air, trying to determine if this was real or performance. KG convulsed harder. His back arched. A choking sound escaped his throat. The guard hesitated. Rask could almost see the calculation happening behind those compound eyes. Damaged cargo meant reduced value. Reduced value meant the guard would have to explain the loss. Explaining losses to the Prophet Lord was unpleasant. It made a decision. The guard touched a panel on the wall. The magnetic seal disengaged with a soft hum. The bars slid open 6 inches. Just enough for the Thelok to reach through with its scanner. Just enough to check if the cargo was salvageable. Rask moved. He grabbed the scanner arm and pulled. Hard. The Thelok stumbled forward, off balance. Its head came through the gap in the bars. Carver was already there. He wrapped his arm around the creature's neck, squeezed. The Thelok thrashed. Stronger than expected. Much stronger. One of its limbs caught Carver across the ribs. He grunted. Didn't let go. Rask grabbed the shock prod, twisted it free from the guard's grip, reversed it, jammed it into the soft joint where the creature's head met its thorax. He triggered it. The Thelok convulsed. Its limbs spasmed. A high-pitched sound escaped its mandibles. Not a scream. Something mechanical. Wrong. Then it went still. Carver held on for another 3 seconds, making sure. Then he released. The body slumped against the bars, half in, half out. Dima, the lock. Now. Dima grabbed the shock prod from Rask, cracked open the casing, exposed the power cell, pressed it against the magnetic seal. 30 seconds. 60. The lock hummed. Clicked. The bars slid fully open. "Help me," Rask said. They dragged the body inside the cell, positioned it in the corner. KG got up from the floor, wiped the blood and foam from his mouth. His hands were steady, but his eyes had changed. Darker. He looked at the dead Thelok. Looked away. Bishop checked the corridor. Both directions. Empty. "Clock started," he said. 30 minutes until the next rotation. Maybe less if they have monitoring we haven't seen. Rask picked up the shock prod. Checked the charge, half depleted from killing the guard. Still enough. "We're out," Dima said. Rask picked up the shock prod. Checked the charge, half depleted from killing the guard. Still enough. He looked at his team. 4 faces. 4 soldiers. No hesitation. Move! The corridor stretched ahead of them. Dim lighting. Low ceiling. The hum of the ship's engines vibrated through the floor. Rask led, Carver behind him, then KG, Dima and Bishop in the rear. They moved in silence, years of training, muscle memory. Even Dima, who'd spent more time behind screens than in the field, knew how to move without sound. They passed other cells, dozens of them, hundreds of prisoners, different species, different shapes, all of them watching with hollow eyes as the humans moved past. One of them, a creature with 4 arms and iridescent skin, pressed itself against the bars. Its mouth moved. Sounds came out. The translator on the dead guard's belt rendered it, "Take us with you. Please, take us." Rask didn't stop. Couldn't stop. "Later," he said. "If we can." The creature's arms fell to its sides. It slumped back against the wall. Hope extinguished as quickly as it had appeared. Carver glanced back. His jaw tightened. But he kept moving. They reached an intersection, corridor branching left and right, a ladder leading up. Rask held up a fist. "Stop!" Bishop moved forward. He had the dead guard's scanner. He'd figured out the basic functions during their planning. Now he studied the display. Alien symbols. Shifting patterns. "Left leads deeper into the cargo hold," he said. "More cells. Storage. Right leads to crew areas. Mess. Quarters." He pointed up. "This goes to the middeck. Processing bay. Medical. And somewhere up there, sensor control." "We need sensors down first," Dima said. "Otherwise, they'll see us on every camera the moment we leave this section." "Processing bay has weapons," Carver said. "Real weapons. Not just shock sticks. Weapons don't matter if they know exactly where we are." Rask made the call. We split. Dima, Bishop. Sensor control. Kill their eyes. Carver, KG with me. We hit processing. Grab what we can. "And then?" KG asked. "And we figure out the next step when we're armed and invisible." Dima nodded. He didn't like splitting up. None of them did. But the logic was sound. 2 objectives. Limited time. No choice. "Comms?" Bishop asked. Rask pulled a small device from the dead guard's belt. A communicator. He'd seen them use it. Simple interface. Push to talk. Only one. "We improvise." He handed it to Bishop. "You keep this. When you transmit, every comm on this ship picks it up. I'll hear it. 1 click for clear. 2 for trouble. 3 for abort." Bishop took it. Their eyes met. Nothing needed to be said. The team split. Dima and Bishop went up the ladder. Rask, Carver, and KG moved right. The maintenance shaft was exactly where the scanner said it would be. Dima pulled the grate off and peered inside. Dark. Narrow. Cables running along the walls. The shaft was designed for automated repair drones, not the luck bodies. Too small for the creatures to fit. Perfect for humans. "I'll lead," Dima said. "The sensor hub should be 2 junctions ahead, maybe 50 meters." Bishop followed him in. The shaft was cramped. Barely enough room to crawl. The metal walls pressed close. The air was stale. Recycled too many times. They moved in silence. Dima counted junctions. 1. 2. He stopped at a grate overlooking a small chamber. Below them, consoles. Screens. Displays showing camera feeds from across the ship. The sensor control room. 2 Thelac operators sat at stations, their backs to the shaft. Monitoring. Bored. Routine work. Dima studied the setup. The main console was on the far wall. That's where the kill switch would be. Shut that down, and the whole internal sensor grid went dark. He looked at Bishop, held up 2 fingers. 2 hostiles. Bishop nodded. He still had the shock prod they'd taken from the first guard. Low charge. Maybe 1 shot. Dima reached into his pocket, pulled out a small power cell. He'd salvaged it from the lock mechanism before they left. Not much juice, but enough to overload a circuit. He pointed at the main console. then at himself, then made an explosion gesture with his hands. Bishop understood. Distraction. While the operators dealt with the overload, Bishop would move. Dima held up 3 fingers. 2. 1. He dropped the power cell through the grate. It landed on the main console and discharged. Sparks. Smoke. The console screen flickered and died. The operators reacted. Clicking sounds. Alarm. They moved toward the damaged console. Bishop dropped from the shaft. He landed behind the first operator, jammed the shock prod into its back. The creature convulsed and fell. The second one turned. Mandibles spread wide. A threat display. Bishop didn't hesitate. He grabbed a loose cable from the damaged console. Live wire. Sparking. He whipped it across the Thalak's face. The creature screamed, that mechanical sound. It stumbled backward, clawed at its eyes. Dima dropped down beside Bishop. He grabbed a heavy piece of equipment from a nearby shelf, some kind of diagnostic tool. Solid metal. He swung. The Thalak went down, didn't get up. Silence. Bishop checked the bodies. Both down. Both still. Dima moved to what remained of the main console. Damaged, but not destroyed. He could work with this. "Give me 2 minutes," he said. "I can kill the whole grid." Bishop took position at the door. Listened. 2 minutes. Rask smelled the processing bay before he saw it. Antiseptic. Metal. And underneath, something else. Copper. Old blood. The corridor ended at a heavy door, sealed, a control panel beside it. Carver examined the panel. Locked. Keycard access. Rask pulled the dead guard's keycard from his belt. He'd taken everything useful. Part of the routine. Part of staying alive. He swiped it. The door hissed open. The processing bay was larger than expected. 20 meters long. 10 meters wide. Metal tables in rows. Drains in the floor. Tools hanging from the walls. Saws. Scalpels. Things Rask didn't have names for. This was where they took the cargo that didn't sell. This was where they rendered biological material into profit. 2 guards stood at the far end of the room. They turned when the door opened. Antennae rising. Alarm. "No time for subtlety." "Carver," Rask said. "Distraction." Carver grinned. It wasn't a pleasant expression. He grabbed a metal tray from the nearest table, threw it at the guards. It clanged off the wall beside them. They flinched, turned toward the sound. Carver moved left, fast, loud, drawing their attention. Rask and Keiji moved right, silent. The guards didn't see them. They were focused on the threat. The obvious target. Carver reached another table, grabbed something. A bone saw. Powered. He triggered it, and the blade screamed to life. Both guards advanced on him. Shock prods raised. They clicked something. A command. Surrender. Carver didn't surrender. He swung the saw. The first guard blocked with its prod. Sparks flew. The blade bit into the weapon's shaft. Stuck. The second guard circled. Flanking. Rask reached the wall. The weapons. He grabbed a long blade. Some kind of surgical instrument. Sharp enough to see his reflection. A communicator hung from a hook nearby. He took that too. He moved. The blade took the second guard in the joint between its thorax and abdomen. The soft spot. Black ichor sprayed. The creature made that sound again. That mechanical scream. Rask twisted. Pulled. The guard fell. Carver was still fighting the first one. The saw was jammed. Useless. He'd dropped it. Now it was hand to hand. The Thalak was stronger, faster. It landed a blow to Carver's chest. He staggered back. Keiji was there. He'd grabbed a scalpel from the wall. Small, precise. He drove it into the guard's eye. The Thalak dropped. Silence again. 3 heartbeats. Carver leaned against a table, breathing hard. A bruise already forming on his chest. But he was smiling. That's more like it. Rask checked the room. Clear. He started gathering weapons. Blades. Power cells. A nerve lance from one of the dead guards. Keiji stood over the body he'd helped kill. His hands were shaking now. The scalpel was still in his grip. Blood on his fingers. blood that he'd put there. First time? Carver asked. Not mocking. Understanding. KG didn't answer. It gets easier, Carver said. That's the worst part. A sound. Footsteps in the corridor. Multiple. Fast. Rask's head snapped toward the door. We've got company. Carver grabbed a shock prod from the floor. KG took the nerve lance. They moved toward the back of the room. Another door. Another exit. Locked. Dima, Rask said into the communicator. Status. Static. Then Dama's voice. Strained. 30 seconds. I've almost got it. We don't have 30 seconds. The footsteps were closer. Rask could hear clicking. Commands. The Thelak had found the first body. They knew cargo was loose. Carver looked at the door, at the approaching sounds, at Rask. I can buy you time. No. You need those weapons. You need Dima to finish. I can give you 30 seconds. Maybe a minute. I said no. Carver stepped closer. His voice dropped. Captain. Jonah. We both know how this works. Someone has to hold the line. Let me do this. The footsteps were almost at the door now. Rask looked at Carver. 12 years of command. 40 soldiers at Anchorage. 6 walked out. He knew this math. He hated this math. Make it count, he said. Carver nodded. No handshake, no farewell. He just turned and walked toward the front door. Shock prod in one hand, bone saw in the other. He'd gotten it free. Rask grabbed KG. They moved to the back door. Rask used the keycard. The lock clicked. Behind them, the front door opened. Carver's voice, loud and clear. Come on then, you ugly bastards. Let's see what you've got. The sounds of combat, crackling electricity, the scream of the bone saw, clicking, shrieking. Rask pulled KG through the back door. They ran. Behind them, Carver fought. 30 seconds. 45. Then silence. The communicator crackled. Carver's voice. Weak. Breathing wet. Got 2 of them. Maybe 3. A laugh. Broken. Not bad for a distraction. Static. Nothing. Alarms. The sound cut through the ship. Red lights flashed in the corridors. A klaxon wailed. The Prophet Lord's voice came over the speakers. Translated. Calm. Almost pleasant. Escaped cargo detected. Containment breach in processing sector. All units to containment protocol. Lethal force authorized. Damaged goods are acceptable losses. Rask and KG ran. The corridor blurred around them. Doors sealed ahead of them. Bulkheads dropping. They ducked through a gap. Barely made it. The bulkhead slammed down behind them, inches from KG's heel. Dima, Rask said into the communicator. Tell me you did it. Sensors are down. Dima's voice. Breathless. They're blind. But they got a partial alert before I killed the grid. They know cargo is loose. They just don't know where. Where are you? Maintenance corridor, Junction 7. Bishop's with me. Hold there. We're coming to you. They moved. Faster. The alarms covered their footsteps. Every Thelak on the ship would be mobilizing now. Hunting. But they couldn't see. They had to search blind. 4 minutes. 5. Rask found the junction. Dima and Bishop were there, pressed against the wall, armed with improvised weapons, alive. Dima looked at Rask, at KG, at the empty space where Carver should have been. He didn't ask. Rask handed out the weapons they'd salvaged, blades, power cells. The nerve lance went to Bishop. He had the steadiest hands. KG leaned against the wall. His eyes were distant. The scalpel was still in his belt. Blood still on his fingers. What now? Dima asked. Rask checked the charge on his shock prod. Nearly full. He'd taken it from one of the guards Carver had killed. Carver. He pushed the thought down. Later. Grief was for later. Now we make them bleed. The alarms hadn't stopped. Red light pulsed through the maintenance corridor. The klaxon wailed in cycles. 3 seconds on. 2 seconds off. A rhythm designed to disorient, to create panic. Rask tuned it out. He'd lived through worse at Anchorage. Artillery barrages that lasted days. The screams of men dying in buildings that collapsed around them. an alarm was nothing. Dima had found a terminal. Hardwired access. His fingers moved across the alien interface, translating symbols through trial and error. "I've got a partial schematic," he said. "Bridge is 3 decks up. Central spine of the ship. That's where the Prophet Lord will be." "Security?" Rask asked. "Heavy. The bridge approach has reinforced bulkheads, blast doors, and the lockdown sealed the direct routes." Dima pointed at the schematic. "We can't go straight up. The lift system is locked. The main stairwells are blocked." "Alternative?" Dima traced a path on the screen. "Through the cargo hold, back the way we came. There's a service ladder on the far side. Comes up near the crew quarters. From there, we can push through to the bridge." Bishop studied the route. "That takes us through 200 prisoners. Prisoners who are still locked in cells," KG said. His voice was flat, distant. He hadn't spoken since Carver died. Rask looked at the schematic, at the cargo hold, at the dozens of cells filled with broken creatures who had given up long before the humans arrived. He made a decision. "We open the cells." Dima looked up. "All of them. All of them." "Captain, those prisoners are 200 bodies flooding the corridors, 200 targets the Thelok have to deal with instead of us." Rask met Dima's eyes. "Chaos is a weapon. We use it." Bishop stepped forward. "There's another reason." Rask waited. "Those beings in the cells. They've been taken from their homes, their families. They've been broken down and prepared for sale. They deserve a chance." Bishop's voice was steady. "Even if most of them can't fight, even if most of them don't survive, they deserve the choice." Rask didn't argue. The tactical reasoning was sound. The moral reasoning didn't change the math. But Bishop wasn't wrong. "We open the cells," Rask said again. "We let them loose. We give them a choice. Fight or hide. That's more than the Thelok gave them." Bishop nodded. That was enough. They moved. The cargo hold was exactly as they'd left it. Dim lighting. Rows of cells. Hundreds of prisoners in various states of despair. The smell of fear and waste and hopelessness. The hum of the magnetic locks holding everything in place. 2 Thelok guards patrolled the far end. They hadn't seen the humans yet. They were focused on the cells. On the cargo that was starting to stir. The alarms had reached the hold. The prisoners knew something was happening. They pressed against the bars. Watched. Waited. Dima found an access panel. Started working. "I can trigger a cascade release," he whispered. "All locks on this level. 30 seconds to crack it." "Do it," Rask said. Bishop and KG took position, watching the guards, watching the corridors. Rask stayed with Dima, protecting him while he worked. 20 seconds. One of the guards turned. Its antennae twitched, sampling the air. It had caught something. A scent. A sound. Something wrong. It started walking toward them. 10 seconds. The guard was closer now. 20 meters, 15. It raised its shock prod. Clicked something into its communicator. 5 seconds. Rask stepped out of cover. The guard saw him. Froze for a moment. Cargo wasn't supposed to be here. Cargo wasn't supposed to be armed. The locks released. Every cell in the cargo hold opened simultaneously. The magnetic seals disengaged with a cascading hum that rolled through the deck like thunder. For a moment, nothing happened. The prisoners stood in their open doorways, confused, uncertain. They'd been locked up so long they'd forgotten what freedom looked like. Then the bovine creature moved. It stepped out of its cell. Slowly at first. Testing. Its massive head swung left and right. It saw the guards. It saw the humans. Something stirred behind those empty eyes. Something that had been buried deep. Something that remembered what it was like to fight. It roared. The sound shook the walls. Deep, primal. A sound of rage that had been building for weeks, months. However long it had been caged. The hold erupted. Prisoners poured out of cells, dozens of them, then hundreds. They flooded the corridors in a wave of bodies. Different species, different sizes, united by one thing: the sudden, overwhelming need to be free. The guards didn't stand a chance. The first one fired its shock prod into the crowd, dropped 2 prisoners. 3, it didn't matter. The wave kept coming. Bodies crashed into it, limbs grabbed, claws tore. The guard went down under a pile of creatures who had nothing left to lose. The second guard tried to run. It made it 10 meters before the bovine creature caught it. One massive hand closed around the Thelak's head, squeezed. The sound was wet. Final. Rask grabbed Dima. "Move, now!" They pushed through the chaos. Bodies everywhere, prisoners running in every direction. Some fought, some fled, some just stood and screamed. The humans moved with purpose, through the crowd, against the flow, heading for the service ladder on the far side. Bishop led. He'd memorized the route. He dodged bodies, vaulted over a fallen prisoner, kept moving. KG followed. His face was blank, focused. The scalpel was in his hand. Dima stumbled. A panicked alien, something small and multi-limbed, crashed into him. He went down. Rask hauled him up, kept him moving. They reached the ladder. Bishop was already climbing. KG behind him. Dima next. Rask looked back at the cargo hold, at the chaos they'd unleashed. The prisoners were winning. The guards were overwhelmed. But it wouldn't last. More Thelak would come. The prisoners would be contained again. Or killed. But by then, the humans would be on the bridge. Rask climbed. The upper deck was quieter. The chaos below hadn't reached here yet. The corridors were empty. Emergency lighting painted everything in shades of red and shadow. They moved in formation, Bishop on point, Rask behind him, KG and Dima in the rear, weapons ready. The crew quarters were abandoned. The Thelak had mobilized. Every guard on the ship would be heading to the cargo hold, trying to contain the uprising. That left the bridge exposed. Almost. They rounded a corner and found them, 3 Thelak, standing in a line across the corridor, blocking the approach to the bridge. These weren't ordinary guards. Their chitin was darker, thicker. They wore something like armor, plates of metal integrated with their exoskeletons. They carried weapons Rask hadn't seen before, longer, heavier, built for killing, not compliance. Probably the Prophet Lord's personal security. The lead guard clicked something, a command. The translator rendered it. Surrender. Return to containment. This is your only warning. Rask raised his shock prod. No! The guard's antennae flattened. It raised its weapon. The corridor exploded into violence. Bishop fired the nerve lance. The beam caught the rightmost guard in the shoulder. It staggered but didn't fall. The armor had absorbed most of the hit. Rask charged the center. The guard swung its weapon. A blade extended from the barrel, close quarters. Rask ducked, felt the blade pass over his head. He drove the shock prod into the guard's knee joint, triggered it. The guard's leg buckled. It went down to one knee. Rask swung the prod like a club, caught it across the face. Chitin cracked. Dima was hit. The leftmost guard had flanked, its weapon discharged. A pulse of energy caught Dima in the chest. He flew backward, hit the wall, slid down, didn't move. Dima. Bishop turned, fired again. The nerve lance caught the guard in the face. It screamed. That mechanical sound. It clawed at its eyes. KG moved. He was faster than Rask had ever seen him. The medic crossed the distance in 3 strides. His scalpel found the blinded guard's throat. Black ichor sprayed. The creature fell. 2 guards left. One was down but not dead. Rask finished it. Quick, efficient. The last guard, the one Bishop had first hit, was falling back, retreating toward the bridge, trying to seal the door. "Stop it!" Rask shouted. "It can't reach that door!" But the guard was fast. Faster than them. It was going to make it. KG ran. The guard reached the door. Its limb touched the control panel. KG hit it from behind. They crashed into the wall together. The guard twisted, brought its weapon around. The blade extended. KG grabbed the barrel, pushed it aside. The blade missed his chest by inches. The guard's other limb found the nerve lance at its belt, pulled it free. Rask saw what was about to happen. He ran. Wasn't fast enough. KG saw it too. The nerve lance coming up. Point-blank range. No way to dodge. He looked at Rask, just for a moment. His eyes were calm, decided. Then he grabbed the guard's nerve lance, both hands, pulled it toward both of them, and triggered it. The discharge lit up the corridor. Blue-white light. The sound of electricity arcing through bodies. Both of them convulsed. The guard, KG, locked together in a death grip. They fell. Rask reached them, kicked the guard's body aside, dropped to his knees beside KG. The medic's eyes were open. His body was still. Smoke rose from his chest where the discharge had burned through cloth and skin. KG. No response. There wouldn't be one. Rask looked at those hands. The hands that had healed wounds and set bones. The hands that had killed for the first time just hours ago. The hands that had just sacrificed everything to keep a door open. He closed KG's eyes. Bishop. The door. Bishop moved past him, stepped over the bodies. The bridge door was still open. KG's sacrifice had worked. Rask stood, picked up his weapon, looked at KG one more time. Later. Grief was for later. He walked through the door. The bridge of the trading flesh was smaller than Rask expected. A circular room. Consoles arranged around a central platform. Screens displaying star maps, ship systems, cargo manifests. The hum of machinery. The glow of alien technology. And at the center, the Prophet Lord. It was taller than the other Thelok. Darker chitin, almost black. Intricate patterns etched into its exoskeleton. Status markings, maybe. Or ritual scars. It stood with its back to the main viewport, stars streaming past in the blur of transit. 2 guards flanked it. They raised weapons as Rask entered. Bishop came through the side entrance. He'd circled around through a maintenance access. The nerve lance in his hands was nearly depleted. 1 shot left, maybe 2. He took 1 guard down. The beam caught its center mass, it dropped. Rask handled the other. He crossed the distance before it could fire. The shock prod caught it in the throat. The blade finished the job. The Prophet Lord was alone. It didn't run. It watched Rask approach with something that might have been curiosity. Its antennae moved slowly, tasting the air, reading him. When it spoke, the translator rendered the words calm, almost amused. You are cargo. You have always been cargo. You cannot change what you are. Rask stopped 3 meters away. Blood dripped from his blade. His blood. Thelok blood. He'd stopped keeping track. You took us from our home, Rask said. We took product from an unprotected market. This is commerce. This is the natural order. You put collars on our necks. Compliance tools. Standard practice. Your discomfort is irrelevant to your value. You were going to sell us, cut us apart, harvest us for pieces. The Prophet Lord's mandibles clicked, slow, rhythmic. Your biology is unremarkable. Your psychology, however, is proving interesting. You would have fetched a premium in the curiosity markets. Rask took a step forward. The Prophet Lord moved, fast. Its limb shot toward a panel on the central console, a failsafe, a distress beacon. Something. Dima, Rask said. Static on the comm. Then Dima's voice, weak, pained, but alive. I'm at a secondary terminal, give me a second. The Prophet Lord's limb touched the panel. Nothing happened. Comms are mine now, Dima said. Nothing's getting out. Nothing's getting in. The Prophet Lord's antennae flattened against its skull. The first sign of fear Rask had seen from any of them. Rask closed the distance. You made 2 mistakes. You kept us together, and you underestimated what we are. The Prophet Lord's mandibles spread. A threat display. Instinct. Meaningless now. What you are, it said, is an anomaly. A statistical deviation. Your species will be catalogued, studied, contained. No, Rask raised the blade. Your species will receive a message. He struck. Quick. Clean. No pleasure. No satisfaction. Just an ending. The Prophet Lord fell. Black ichor pooled on the deck. The lights on the central console flickered. Somewhere in the ship, the alarms finally stopped. Silence. Rask stood over the body. Breathed. Then he turned away. It took an hour to secure the ship. The Thalok crew was dead or contained. The uprising in the cargo hold had been more effective than Rask had hoped. The prisoners had overwhelmed the guards through sheer numbers and desperation. Many had died. Many more had survived. They stood in the corridors now, lost, free, not sure what came next. Rask didn't have answers for them. He had his own mission to complete. The bridge was quiet. Dima sat at a console, bandages wrapped around his chest. The hit had cracked 2 ribs, punctured something. He should be in a medical bay. Instead, he was working. His fingers moved across the alien interface until he found it. A human frequency. This is surviving crew of military inspection team Caldera. He paused, coughed, kept going, requesting immediate extraction. We have secured a Thalok slave transport. Multiple hostiles neutralized. Prisoners from various species aboard, requesting medical and military support. Static. Then the static broke. A human voice, clear, professional. Inspection Team Caldera, this is Orbital Station Sentinel-7. We read you. Confirm your position. Dima sent the coordinates. A pause. Then, confirmed. We're dispatching a recovery fleet. ETA 12 hours. Hold your position. Medical team standing by. How many survivors? Dima looked at Rask. 3 military personnel, Rask said into the comm, and approximately 180 civilian prisoners, multiple species. They'll need processing, medical evaluation. They're witnesses. Witnesses? To what the Thalok have been doing in Council-protected space. Get that on record. Command needs to know. The Council needs to answer. Another pause. Longer this time. Understood, Caldera. Hold position. Help is coming. Sentinel-7 out. The comm went silent. 12 hours. Rask walked to the navigation console. The course was already set. The trading flesh would hold position until the fleet arrived. The prisoners would be rescued, transported, debriefed. Their testimony would become evidence. Leverage. Pressure on a galactic council that had looked the other way for too long. Dima, the autopilot. Can you set a delayed course and broadcast? Dima frowned. Delayed? After the fleet extracts everyone, I want this ship to go somewhere with a message. Where? Thalok space. Dima nodded. His fingers moved across the console. Done. 12 hours after extraction, the ship undocks and flies itself back to where it came from. Rask walked to the cargo bay, the main loading doors, massive slabs of metal designed to open when the ship docked. Right now, sealed tight. But the interior surface was exposed. Bare metal. Waiting. He still had the blade, the surgical instrument he'd carried since the processing bay. Bishop followed. What are you doing? Rask didn't answer. He pressed the blade against the metal, dragged it. The screech filled the empty bay. He carved. When the Thalok opened this ship, when they came to see what had happened to their crew, this would be the first thing they saw. Dima rigged a final broadcast, open frequency, set to loop when the ship crossed into Thalok space. 12 hours later, the fleet arrived. Sentinel-7 had sent everything. Medical frigates, military escorts, diplomatic observers. They swarmed the trading flesh like antibodies attacking an infection. The prisoners were evacuated first. Stretchers, blankets, soft voices in dozens of languages. Some walked, some were carried. Some just stood on the deck of the rescue ship and wept. The bovine creature, the one who had roared first, who had started the flood, stopped as it passed Rask. It looked at him with eyes that were no longer empty. It made a sound. Low. Rumbling. The translator on a nearby medic's belt rendered it. We remember. Rask nodded. That was enough. Medical teams found Dima next, loaded him onto a stretcher despite his protests. The ribs were worse than anyone had thought. Internal bleeding. He'd been running on adrenaline and spite. Bishop went with him, stayed close. The linguist who read people like books had nothing left to say. He just sat beside his wounded friend and stared at the wall. Rask was the last to leave. He stood on the bridge of the trading flesh. Alone. The bodies had been removed, but the memory lingered. He thought about Carver, the hot-headed ex-conscript who'd bought them time with his life. He thought about Keiji, the medic who'd crossed his own line and never came back. He thought about the colonists at Caldera, the ones they couldn't save. A voice crackled over the comm. "Captain Rask, extraction shuttle is waiting. Time to go." Rask took one last look at the bridge, at the central console where the Prophet Lord had stood, at the viewport that showed stars streaming past. On my way. He walked off the bridge, didn't look back. The trading flesh undocked 6 hours later. Its broadcast began the moment it crossed into its own territory. Open frequency. Repeating. A message that would spread through every relay, every station, every ship in range. "This is the trading flesh. Your cargo sends its regards. We're coming." And carved into the cargo bay doors, waiting for whoever opened them first. "Send more." The Thalak had taken 5 humans. 3 came back. And somewhere in the void, an empire learned that some cargo bites back.
Hey there, space human. I'm really curious about your thoughts on this video. Drop a quick comment and let me know what's on your mind. Or just say hi if you prefer. Either way, I'd love to hear from you. Also, remember to check the pinned comment. Trust me, it's worth a look. Oh, and one last thing. I've chosen another video for you to watch. Just click the card here, or here if you want the whole playlist. See you there.